glad we have a chance to talk. We have about 3 to 5 minutes to have a brief conversation about the idea of social media. Now, there's much talk about social media, in social media, outside of social media, in academic circles, in journalistic circles, and so on. Oftentimes, critical readers and critical minds talk about the ills of social media and not so much about the positives of social media in terms of social transformation, in terms of the kinds of changes that humanity is always after. Because after all, regardless of whether we like it or not, everything is changing. Humanity is changing, cultures are changing, and as much as the conservatives try really hard, by pushing, by suppressing, by oppressing, try really hard to keep change from occurring, it does seem to occur. When an idea's time arrives, there's no way of stopping it. So I'd like to focus in this short amount of time that we have together on the positive aspects of social media. When I'm talking about social media, I'm really referring to the biggies that are obviously on your mind, as they are on my mind. Places like Flickr, places like YouTube, Facebook, obviously, the king of social media, which has about 700 million users, and pretty soon that number will go up to 1 billion, 1/7 of humanity and of course it will increase. I remember back in 2005 when the London transport bombing happened. It was a terrorist attack. It was a vicious attack, organized, well organized by the terrorists who wanted to terrorize the public, and they achieved that. And folks were trapped inside the subway tunnels and so on, and the authorities couldn't get in for a little while, and that also included the journalists. What happened was that people who were trapped there, equipped with their cell phones and cameras, started taking pictures and recording the goings on inside, and immediately sharing that information with the public at large, their friends and colleagues, and of course sharing happens in a form of a chain reaction. And when group thinking takes over, sometimes it can be revolutionary, can be transformative, and it can be a good thing, and not necessarily sort of like a mob mentality that people critically talk about. So in the case of 2005 bombing, it was the public, the citizens at large, that determined the rules of the game, rather than the authorities sort of taking over and trying to, cover up certain areas of information and then releasing information as needed, as framed by their own liking and according to their agenda, or the mainstream media taking over the narrative and telling us something other than what the people had experienced. So that was like a perfect example of what social media can do for us in terms of becoming engaged public citizens and informed public citizens, because the journalists had to follow suit, and the rules were determined by group thinking. So ideally, we'd like to see that to be ubiquitous in social media. Will that happen? Will the ethics of social media get to a place where the positives outweigh the negatives? Only time will tell. Thanks for joining me.